Chapter 89 Spear and Shield. Han Li turned his head to look at sect leader Wang, who had a gloomy countenance. In that moment, the three men standing near sect leader Wang had a great change in expression and started talking amongst themselves. It seemed that the dwarf's golden light was not something to be trifled with. Covered by the golden light, the dwarf started laughing with his head facing the sky. Soon after, he domineeringly shouted, "This venerable master is standing here motionlessly and will allow you to attack as you please. If there is no one here capable of breaking this monk's gold barrier, then not a single one of your insignificant lives will be spared." After this was said, he gave an arrogant sneer. Monk Golden Light's speech had thoroughly changed the Seven Mysteries sect disciples' apprehension into rage. Immediately, many valiant martial artists wanted to rush out from the crowd and charge straight toward the dwarf. However, sect leader Wang stopped them. Wang Juchu waved his arm, signaling the protectors at the scene to return. Then, he said a few words to the tall and sturdy man, who nodded his head and walked step by step toward to the dwarf, upright and unafraid. As the dwarf saw the fully bearded man walking toward him, a malicious gaze flashed in his eyes. Because his natural body was deformed, he had been ridiculed since a young age. As a result, he especially detested bold individuals with tall and lofty figures. This man before him fell within his scope of resentment. He was already thinking of what cruel method he should use to torment him. The bare-chested man was one of Wang Juchu's three martial uncles. If one did not see his full bearded face, they would have thought him to be an oaf. However, his true age had already passed a cycle of 60 years. He used to be known as a valiant and brave individual in the Seven Mysteries sect, killing countless enemies for the sake of the sect. Confronted with this strange golden barrier, he naturally would not act rashly. This person examined the barrier and glanced at Monk Golden Light protected within. He cracked a smile, and with two extended fingers, he flicked the golden barrier, causing a clear dang sound. This frivolous act agitated Monk Golden Light. He sinisterly said, "Do you wish for this immortal master to send you to an early reincarnation?" As the martial uncle listened to these words, his expression changed. He unexpectedly strode forward a single step, arriving at the dwarf's side. Lifting his leg once more, he appeared behind the dwarf. In order to get to the mind of Monk Golden Light, the martial uncle circled around him with long strides and increasingly faster revolutions. In a blink of an eye, his figure became indistinct. Monk Golden Light was incapable of seeing him clearly. Monk Golden Light had become dizzy from the opponent's continuous rotations, causing the fury in his heart to intensify. Without taking the time to think, he brought his hand to the inside of his robe, seemingly with the intention to take something out. Just then, the circling bearded man naturally took notice of his opponent's actions. He suddenly let out a long whistle that resembled a dragon's cry and a tiger's hiss. The whistle was both strong and lengthy. It shook the ears of everyone on Setting Sun Summit with a droning noise that also affected leaves and branches of the trees nearby. After Monk Golden Light heard the whistle, his shaking hands were rendered powerless. His hand stretched toward his bosom, but unexpectedly, he did not withdraw it. Suddenly, the sharp, loud sounds of bursting joints came from the bearded man. They grew more and more hurried until finally the sounds were like the winds and rain of a torrential storm. The sounds had even covered the whistling. The bearded man had circled to the front of the dwarf and stopped. He then stopped whistling and the sound of his joints bursting had stopped. At this moment, those who were clear-headed discovered that the bearded man's body had changed dramatically since his revolutions. The muscles on his chest and arms were greatly bulging outwards and were pure black, as if cast in living iron. When compared to the dwarf, it was as if he were a giant. While Monk Golden Light was gasping for air, he took out a thin long box from his bosom. This wooden box was completely dark and was covered by a paper talisman that sealed the contents. Without waiting for the dwarf to tear off the paper talisman, the gigantic spirited man extended his huge hand like a palm leaf fan, and without politeness, he ruthlessly smashed against the golden light. The strike rocked the barrier, deforming it and causing the dwarf to sway incessantly, making the unstable dwarf incapable of tearing off the paper talisman. Monk Golden Light's mind was overwhelmed with shock. He was fully aware of the might of the golden barrier surrounding him. This man was actually capable of striking and deforming it, which required a great amount of godly force. The contempt in his heart could not help but almost entirely vanish. His hands moved more quickly to tear off the paper talisman. With the sound of tearing paper, the talisman had finally been ripped off. Monk Golden Light's face showed an expression of joy. He then heard a thump as the bearded man unleashed strikes against the golden barrier in quick succession. The dwarf's body swayed accordingly and was unable to remain standing, causing his buttocks to fall to the floor. Only at this moment did he discover that the man had used both hands and legs to assault the golden barrier like a squall. His current golden barrier was the same as needed though. With the opponent's punches and kicks creating new dents, bulges, and warp deformations on the barrier, it seemed that the layer of golden light could break at any moment underneath the martial uncle's fierce assault. Seeing this, Monk Golden Light's expression drastically changed. Flustered, he was no longer capable of maintaining the poise of an immortal master, and instead proceeded to chant an incantation. Unfortunately, he had made many errors in this hurried attempt, so there wasn't the slightest result. That black box hadn't moved even a jolt. In the back, Jia Tianlong saw everything and was somewhat amazed. On one hand, he was amazed by Monk Golden Light's idiotic actions and obliviousness. On the other hand, he felt awe as he witnessed the martial prowess belonging to Wang Juchu's martial uncle, who could test the power of the golden barrier belonging to Monk Golden Light. The barrier could truly be considered impervious to sword and spear. Water and fire couldn't penetrate it either, similar to its ineffectiveness against a diamond-hard shield. Unexpectedly, this golden barrier was trembling greatly under this person's punches and kicks, and accumulated deformations according to the martial uncle's wishes. This was truly inconceivable. This man's skill was a great and profound mystery. He recalled that there still existed two more similar experts in addition to the bearded man. For the first time since he had rashly agreed to the opponent's deathmatch, Jia Tianlong felt slightly regretful. He now understood why the opposition had requested a deathmatch with complete confidence. Wang Juchu actually had these three freakish experts to rely on. If Jia Tianlong were in his shoes, he would have also requested a bloody battle. Thinking of this, Jia Tianlong looked at the disadvantaged dwarf. He already considered whether or not he should send assistance to this self-proclaimed immortal master to avoid having this expert die such a muddle-headed death without even using his flying swords technique.